Welcome to the podcast. We're kicking off the 4th season of the podcast, a space designed to have raw, real, and authentic conversations around health and wellness, featuring none other than our incredible pure ambassadors of wellness. Hey Bulldogs, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Melissa Norris. I serve as a health educator within the Student Health and Counseling Center, and I have our pure ambassadors of wellness here with me today.
I'm Holly.
I'm Matthew.
All right, so we are answering the question of who's in your circle today. And when we talk about our circle, we're really talking about who are the people we lean on when we need help and support within our lives. We're also going to spend some time talking about how do we expand that a little bit further than what our circle currently is and maybe why that's kind of important. So let's start with the first question of who's in your personal circle?
For me, in my circle, I have my family, friends, and I go to my professors and faculty, just people who I trust.
Yeah, I would agree. For me, it's mostly my friends, but I do go to some family members as well as faculty members as well.
I appreciate the fact that both of you reference staff and faculty because only 2% of our followers, when we asked them on social media, said that staff and faculty were a part of their circle. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that?
It's like surprising, but also not surprising. I think people don't really think of faculty as people who can support you, but I think they're a really good support system, especially if you're going through processes such as like applying for graduate school or internships or just jobs in general. I think they're really important.
Yeah, I agree with Holly. I feel that some students might be anxious or shy when going to their professors during office hours. Just that lack of social anxiety and not feeling confident to put themselves out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I feel like you guys talked also about friends, and I think the friendship part of your circle really grows and expands in college as well. Talk to me about some of the friendships and how you built some of those friendships while you're here at Fresno State.
I don't know about you, but I'm a transfer student, so I basically came late in a way. So I kind of had to find my niche group, and then we actually just ended up creating a club, and that ended up bringing more people like us, or like-minded people towards us to build a friend group. And that's how I've built really good friendships here, at least. Yeah.
For me, I'm also a transfer student. I transferred last year, and I just got involved with clubs, different organizations, and just put myself out there. I think what's really important is making the connections and networking with other students because they could be your lifelong friends. And also just, just making those lifelong friendships. It's really important.
Yeah, I definitely it's been a long time since I was in college, but I got involved as well as a student, and I think there's a lot of people from those clubs and organizations I was a part of that I do still stay connected to. And you're right, building that connection of someone who is on the same level, whether it's an interest that you're a part of or an academic pursuit that you're involved with, that makes a huge difference. I know we asked students, again, through our social media accounts, like, are you involved in clubs and organizations? And I was kind of surprised to see that only 41% of the students said they're a part of a club or organization.
Yeah, I would like to see that number increase because I know it's helped me personally. I think in the past I've been someone who's like, I'm going to wait for people to come up to me, but I've realized like I have to take the initiative and go up to people, and this is like the way I did it at least. So
I feel like for me, it's important to make your college experience the best out of it. And what I like about Fresno State is it's such a diverse campus, and there's everything for everyone.
There's a lot of opportunities. Now, if we go back to we were talking about staff and faculty, professors in particular, are you guys ones to visit your professors during office hours? Talk to me.
I literally visited one today this morning. I gave him a gift that I got him while I was in Scotland. We talked about my applications. We talked about Fresno State and like all the construction and stuff. It doesn't even have to be about school. It was honestly just us catching up with each other.
That's awesome. I love that, making the personal connections outside of just the academic content that you're covering. What about you, Matthew?
Just like Holly, I visited my professors today during their office hours. I think it's really great to make those personal relationships to get a future letter of recommendation for graduate school if students decide to pursue one.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
So I think you guys might be the outside of the norm. How many Fresno State students, what percentage of Fresno State students do you think are visiting their professors during office hours?
10%.
10%? What do you think, Matthew? You think
I
that's
would say
higher?
10 to 20.
10 to 20? Okay.
Definitely less than half, unfortunately.
Yeah, and according to social media, again, our followers are telling us 72% have not gone to take that time to visit their professors during office hours. And like you said, I think there's a lot of opportunities to make connections, whether it's checking in on, do I understand something that's being covered in the classroom, or simply just checking in on a personal note. Those are the connections that really make a difference as you do get close, like you said, Matthew, to potential graduate schools or internships or job applications too.
Yeah. I think like the best question to like go into an office hour is like genuinely asking them what their opinion on something is. Like, should I join this club? Should I join this honor society? Should I apply to this job? Should I apply for this internship? And like that just starts a conversation.
Well, and I think starting the conversation is half the battle, right? I think especially if we think back of everything that's happened since COVID, I think our social interactions changed dramatically during the time of COVID, and I think that's created a greater sense of anxiety and stress around just simply having a dialogue with another person that maybe you don't have that built connection with already. So I think that's one of the elements that I've found in talking with students is that there's that fear associated with like, what do I say? Like, what is that conversation starter? And so I love that you share that. Are there other conversation starters you guys would recommend? Maybe we start with staff and faculty.
Staff and faculty.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. For staff and faculty, like I said, just asking their opinion on something, or just like letting them know what you're involved in, like asking them if they can make an announcement in class for something you're involved in. That way, like, they start to notice you and like learn your name better.
True.
I feel like for me, something even simple like, how's your day going? Thank you after leaving their classroom just shows the professor who you are instead of just being another student, them not knowing in the classroom.
Yeah, well, speaking as someone who's been at the front of the classroom teaching, those things make a huge difference, because when you're looking at a sea of 30, 40, 50, in lecture halls, a whole lot more students, you're not getting those chances to make those direct connections. And when they do hear the personal stories or those experiences, there's that connection now where they feel like, I know this person a little bit more, so that when you go to ask maybe for that letter of recommendation, all of a sudden that kind of makes more sense. I love it. What about when we think about for students? Because I think that anxiety doesn't stop at like staff and faculty, and therefore that's different. Even your own peers, like what are the things that are your go-tos to just initiate a conversation and build those connections?
I feel like for me, just whenever I go to a classroom and sit down next to someone I don't know, I just introduce myself. And this was different since I'm a senior now, but I would ask what their major is and what career path they're pursuing. But now it's just something simple like, hey, can I sit by you? Or just anything like that, just to start a conversation.
Yeah, I've done the same in the past. I think it does change as, you know, you become more involved in your major classes because everyone's kind of in the same major. But like what I've done, and this is something I've done since high school, is just like have a pack of gum in your backpack and be like, would you want a piece of gum? And then they're always going to be remembering you as like someone who's kind, and like they might come to you to ask for something like help in a class or something.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard the gum trick.
Yeah.
I've heard that from several people. I had to laugh because we asked on social media and what students used as those conversation starters in the classroom. And one of my favorite ones that came up was, what is your favorite thing you have on your nightstand? I'm like, well, that's a really strange question, but I could see where that would tell you maybe a lot about what that individual enjoys or appreciates and things like that. So that was kind of fun too.
Also, could I add something quickly, Melissa?
Please, yes.
I forgot to add that it's good to give a compliment to someone too, because who doesn't like a compliment? That will make them feel better and even boost their self-esteem.
I love that. That's a great approach, because you're right. And no one's going to turn down that extra compliment that gives them that boost of energy as well. I know we talked about like clubs and organizations, joining those as one way to expand your circle, but are there some other things that you've picked up along the way that have helped you to expand what that circle looks like for you?
I think for me, it's not necessarily something you do outwardly, but I've learned to be very humble with myself and like laugh at myself and not take myself seriously. And I found that it's allowed people to be more comfortable to come to me. And I think that's really helped me in college.
I like that.
I agree with Holly, just being laid back and comfortable with yourself and not being so hard on yourself as well. What
about even just going to events and things like that on campus? I mean, I often will hear students say that they don't want to go to that football game because they don't know who to go with. They're like, I'll go if my friend goes with me. But those are also opportunities for you to meet new people that maybe aren't currently a part of that circle and might be able to be added to it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's events going on every day at Fresno State, and I actually do see a lot of people who do go alone, and so I think it's okay to be afraid to go, because there's a lot of other people that are afraid to go, and they might find comfort in you. Maybe it's a familiar face from class, be like, hey, you're in my psych class, and then go from there.
Well, some of it is being comfortable with being alone, right? I mean, that can be uncomfortable in and of itself to show up to something on your own, but it's also a cool opportunity to kind of, like you said, open yourself up to maybe making that connection.
I definitely feel it's scary to go out go out alone, but it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to get out of your comfort zone and meet people that share common interests with you.
Yeah, even that means just walking around a tabling event, stopping at a table because a club's out tabling, or I know our career center offers career fairs with a lot of different agencies that come together where you can learn and gain resources. We have things like clubs and organization fairs, or just simply doing some of the more fun things like going to a football game. I know homecoming's coming up, so that's another opportunity to kind of have a little bit of fun in a social space that's a little bit more light. We've talked a lot about these circles. We've talked about ways to expand it, but ultimately, why? I think behind everything, it's why is it important? What is the gain? And whether that be personally as you reflect on your experience here at Fresno State, or generally speaking for our student population.
I mean, ultimately, it's like happiness is like ultimate goal, but as far as like building circles here at Fresno State, it's like Fresno State is my stepping stone to graduate school to be able to be a physical therapist in the future. And so I've been building up relationships with professors so that I can go to them at the end of when I'm graduating, which is this semester, to ask them, and I already have, for letters of recommendation, and have them go over my essays, my personal statements, so that they know me more than other people do. So I want them to write on my behalf. So that's why it's important to me.
Yeah.
I agree with Holly. Fresno State is a stepping stone to catapult ourselves into the next chapter of our lives, next career path. It's really important to just network and make those personal relationships with our professors and to get out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, those professors may very well be your colleague one day even, so you have to get along.
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity to build those relationships, and so often I think students don't even know who would I go to for that letter of recommendation. Not saying all of our students will choose to go on to graduate school, but having those letters of recommendation, even if you're not immediately going into grad school, can definitely support you. We had 61% of our students on Instagram who said they have no idea who they would ask. And a lot of times, again, being on the other side of it, I've had students ask me for a letter of recommendation from 4 years before that I don't remember, I had not worked with, that never spoke to me after class. And it's tough to be on that side of the fence too, because we want to support you. But if we don't have that relationship, it certainly can make that more difficult. And when you're scrambling at the last minute trying to collect who can I ask to write those letters of recommendation, you want to make sure it's a high quality one, because like you said, your end-all be-all is not Fresno State. For some people, they might be coming back, but what's that next step, and where are you guys going, and how can you support yourself as you're moving towards that?
Right, and like through that transition, it's not just professors. You need to have the support of your family and friends and other loved ones, because what happens if you don't get in? What happens if you change your mind, kind of thing? That's the people that you want to turn to help guide you and support you.
Yeah.
I feel like what's also important is just putting yourself out there and having yourself stand out, because professors have hundreds of students and they might not remember you unless you make yourself stand out in a way.
I agree.
Well, and our social support systems, like they're not just, I mean, yes, we've talked about staff and faculty and kind of the academia side of it, of yes, they're supporting us in your academic and career pursuits, but ultimately having those individuals in place that you know you can turn to, because things do get hard at times in our lives. We're going to have those downturns that are more challenging. So how can we have those people in place within our circle before we get to that place?
I think, you just have to make sure that you're there for them too. An eye for an eye kind of thing. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. Mm-hmm. But it's not so selfish, but it's a genuine thing. I care about you. I know you care about me. You would do the same thing for me, and I'm going to do the same for you when it happens for you.
So as you guys know, we end our episode with our podcast question of the week. So we're talking about our support systems, our circle, but people within our circle aren't always immediately around us. So when it comes to comfort, what is your go-to comfort food that gives you that warm fuzzy the same way your circle would?
I love Chipotle. I love it. So that's probably what I would do. I'd go to Chipotle, get my burrito bowl, go home, watch some TV, eat my Chipotle.
I love it. What about you, Matthew?
I love Subway. That's my go-to. Here on campus, it's really accessible to get to as well.
So we looked on Google to find out what were the most common comfort foods. Number one was chicken and waffles. We had spaghetti and meatballs, chicken fried steak, mac and cheese, hot dish, Chicago deep dish pizza, and grilled cheese and tomato soup. Any of those giving you the warm fuzzies?
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese for me too.
Yeah, brings back like that childhood kind of vibe and feeling that like you've got that cozy comfort from family making it for you, right?
Especially baked mac and cheese.
That
What's
sounds
crusty
good.
on the top? Yeah.
Okay, I'm officially hungry. Well, thank you guys so much for another fantastic episode. We appreciate you guys enjoying the conversation with us. Have a great day, Bulldogs. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at FS Health Center, where we're going to share more opportunities to take that deeper dive into wellness and to have some fun at the same time. You can also visit our website at fresnostate.edu/health to learn more about the programs and services available at the Student Health and Counseling Center.